What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another video. Welcome to your stimulus check update, stimulus package and infrastructure update, and daily news report for Wednesday, May 26th. So things are starting to get closer. We are starting to get agreements. We're starting to get deals somewhat made on this infrastructure package, but there's still other discussions going on as well. I want to bring all those updates to you in today's video. First, we got lawmakers that say that we should be tapering off stimulus, as right now there are still millions of people that are still suffering. The Biden administration has indicated that they would accept a $1 trillion infrastructure proposal. President Biden also wants to fix the housing crisis, and he wants to do this immediately, which could also create more issues. Economists say another stimulus check is needed, as it would provide the highest guarantee of relief. The White House aides indicate that there's roughly $700 billion in unspent funding that has come out from the previous relief packages. And as of yesterday, 50% of the U.S. population of 18 years and older have been vaccinated. And many wonder what the summer months are going to look like as far as COVID cases. So this is what we're going to discuss today. Hopefully you guys are having a wonderful day. If you have any questions, please ask your questions down in the comment section below. So let's begin. Lawmakers are currently saying that tapering off stimulus must be considered, as millions of people are still suffering. They urge the White House to include smaller amounts of relief to help those that are struggling. They say that we need to provide additional assistance, yet this needs to be, for one, because it has been proven to work, but they say that right now, providing a smaller amount of relief to a more targeted group of people is what is needed. This would provide the most help to the American people. However, continuing massive amounts of relief at the pace that we have been sending out the money is something that economists say they are somewhat worried about, because this would cause hyperinflation. We know this, but right now lawmakers say that we need to provide more. There needs to be other things included, not just a stimulus check. They need to do things like extending unemployment benefits for possibly the long-term unemployed and possibly self-employed workers. However, they say potentially cut off the $300 per week boost, as some say it's the $300 per week boost that is causing employers or employees not to go back into work. So there's a lot of talks going on right now, but what I can tell you is that lawmakers are considering tapering off stimulus and tapering off relief to help out those that are continuing to struggle, but also to get the economy back to where it once was, where we didn't see millions and millions of people receiving government help every single month. Now, yes, nutrition assistance, housing assistance, and medical, things like that, those were always included. However, additional nutrition assistance, pandemic EBT, stimulus checks, the $300 per week in unemployment, as a bonus. Those are things that were just pandemic related. So that's kind of what's being discussed at this point, is let's taper off that additional relief to get back to where we once were. So again, we'll see what happens there, but as we know more, I promise I will share more. We also know the Biden administration wants to see more affordable housing, and they want to do this immediately, that this is a huge crisis when we need to fix this fast. But there's a big issue. Millions are struggling because their cost of living has exceeded their income. We know this. This is something that many of you have said before, is that you get paid, let's say $1,200, but your rent is $1,400. That's a big issue when you spend $200 more on rent than you make in income, and yet you still haven't even paid for food, utilities, other essentials, medical needs. You still haven't paid for any of that stuff. That is a huge, huge issue. And what many experts are saying is that millions of people are putting these additional expenses on credit cards. They're getting payday loans, which if you are getting a payday loan, you right there are absolutely getting screwed. I guarantee you're getting screwed. Right now, what we know is that there's two ways to fix this housing crisis. We can either increase your income, or we can decrease the cost of living. decrease the cost of your home. Well, currently, the Democratic Party is fighting for a $15 minimum wage. However, fighting for a $15 minimum wage, yet we are still trying to get through this infrastructure package, and the minimum wage was pretty much denied back when we did the American Rescue Plan. So as of right now, some are saying that the $15 minimum wage is pretty much dead, and it will require a bipartisan agreement there. However, at this time, Republicans say there's no need to provide an additional or increase the minimum wage when employers are having a tough time just staying open. So, having a $15 minimum wage or increasing your minimum wage is seen as highly unlikely at this point unless it comes from more of a state level. So, what we do know is that the Biden administration can and they will decrease the cost of your living, but how do they plan to do that? Here's what we know. One solution that the Biden administration has proposed is to build new and to also retrofit older housing to make it more affordable to an additional roughly 2 million people. They want to build and retrofit roughly 2 million new homes, okay, or retrofit 2 million homes. That's their goal. They want to spend roughly $213 billion in order to do this. As they say, this would help out millions of people. But here's where things get tricky. Experts are currently saying that this would not only help people, but this would also increase the cost of building materials in the short term, which would send the cost of home prices soaring for pretty much in the immediate future. And this would make things almost impossible for some people to even get into a home, to purchase a home, because it's too expensive. Their income is not high enough based on how much home prices are currently going for. But President Biden has a solution for that as well. In order to, kind of offset this, the Biden administration is contemplating doing between $15,000 and $25,000 as a first-time home buyer credit. But yes, you guessed it, this would only go to first-time home buyers. That is the issue here, is that let's say you have a home or you had a home in the past 3 years that was taken away from you or you sold. You can't go and buy a new home because you're not technically a first-time home buyer. So because of that, what the experts are currently telling us is that this would send prices for entry-level homes, this would send those prices soaring because everybody now has this tax credit. They can go and buy an entry-level home. The problem is entry-level homes are now more expensive than more of these kind of these secondary homes, or even a home that maybe it's your forever home, right? That's the issue here, is that if entry-level homes, those prices increase, well, the second homes, those are going to increase. The forever homes, the bigger ones, those mansions, everything's going to get more expensive and more expensive. So really, as of right now, experts believe that the solution to fixing the housing crisis is too complicated. And they worry that the Federal Reserve is going to be way too slow to act, which as of right now they are, and they will completely mess up the markets. This is something we have seen over the past month, and I can tell you right now, the Federal Reserve is not the one that you want trying to deal with this, because they have screwed this up before, and they will screw it up again. So we will see, but this is also why President Biden has included this type of legislation into the infrastructure package, because he says this would resolve the issue. But until this gets passed, until we see it actually go out into the economy and into the hands of the American people, we don't know whether this is going to improve or this will actually be detrimental to the economy and to the American people themselves. So, speaking of infrastructure, let's talk about this, because yesterday I mentioned how a group of Republicans and the GOP negotiators were both putting together different proposals for infrastructure. What we know as of right now is that the White House, according to the Republican negotiators, they are saying that the White House is saying that they are open to a $1 trillion figure, and that they alluded to this last week during their White House meeting. So, it is because of this, because of President Biden's willingness or somewhat openness to negotiate, that the GOP negotiators are going to start with an offer of $1 trillion, which is supposed to come out tomorrow. Okay, if we get this update today, I will do another update video later on today and address this, but this is supposed to come out sometime tomorrow. This new bill, this new proposal is going to be for $1 trillion and it will be spaced out over 8 years, as opposed to the Biden administration's proposal, which is $1.7 trillion and spaced out over 10 years. So a little bit different there. We also know, according to White House aides, that this money, how this will be paid for, this $1 trillion, $700 billion of this is going to be used or going to be repurposed from the past COVID funding. So really, this $1 trillion in spending is only going to put us in about but it's about a $300 billion deficit. So it is going to add to our debt, but not as much as the Biden administration's proposal of $1.7 trillion, which all 1.7 effectively is supposed to get paid for by the millionaires and billionaires of our country. So we'll see. The proposal, though, that I want to address is what some are calling the backup proposal, the back burner proposal. And this is from Senators Mitt Romney, Porter, I believe Susan Collins, and Senator Joe Manchin. But what we know is that right now, both of the proposals, that one that's bipartisan, the other one's from the GOP negotiators, both of those are repurposing that $700 billion. They're repurposing that. And that is what Republicans want. They want to see the money be repurposed because as of right now, it's just sitting there doing absolutely nothing. So, over the past few days, this is when we started getting those reports that there's $700 billion in unspent funding. Now, we know that over the past 5 months, ever since the bill that former President Donald Trump did, right? There was supposed to be money in there that went out to like the arts and theaters. I think there was like $16 billion. Well, as of today, as of May 26th, that $16 billion has not even been sent out. The theaters are still waiting on that. We also know tens of millions of dollars in rental assistance is still sitting while states figure out a better way to distribute this money. States are struggling. They don't know what to do with it. It's difficult for states because they have these very almost impossible guidelines that you got to go through. I've helped out people here in the community to go and get rental assistance, and I can tell you that it is difficult. It is very difficult. And if you have a job, if you have a family, if you have a life, and you are trying to get rental assistance, well, for one, forget your family, forget your life. You almost forget your job because it's going to take so much work to get the paperwork and have it all done exactly how the state is requiring it. And then they can even come back and say, no, that doesn't work. That's not going to work. That paperwork doesn't work. I don't like it. You need to redo it. So rental assistance is just becoming a huge issue at this point. And a lot of people, and I've tried to help out people here in the community as well, but many people that I've tried to help out are like, that's too much. I can't do it. And so they just give up. And so they will still have this back rent that still be due. But again, it's so difficult right now, and that's one of the things and that's one of the reasons why states are struggling to distribute this money. And there's billions of dollars just waiting. We also know the unemployment benefits that will be unused in the roughly 23 states as of right now that are currently planning on canceling the federal unemployment benefits in a couple months early, starting sometime in June. This money is going to be unused as well. So this is going to go back into that roughly $700 billion pot. And yet the Biden administration wants to see that this infrastructure package isn't paid for by repurposing the money that was already spent. No, the Biden administration wants to go and tax the wealthier individuals in the country, the businesses. That's who they want to tax. And Republicans and some economists are saying that no, that's not the best move because that would actually try to get more businesses to leave the country. That would get people to not want to do business here in the United States. If they're getting taxed more in the United States, then they'd be taxed in another country. And this also has a lot of people saying, well, try to tax the millionaires and billionaires. But if they are smart, which a lot of them are, they figure out ways around these. They figure out the tax loopholes and they use them effectively and legally. That's the key, effectively and legally. so they can get away from paying taxes. All these loopholes are in the tax code. You just got to find them. And what we know right now is that this is actually frustrating senators like Joe Manchin, because he believes that right now we must wait and see exactly how the allocated funds are being used and how they are spent first. Once they are fully spent, then we can determine which areas of our country need additional relief, which areas need more help, which areas need the proper infrastructure. If the money still out there, hasn't been spent, how do we know exactly what is needed? And that's where some are saying that this is creating a big issue, that all of a sudden having this $700 billion pot is creating a huge issue, because some lawmakers didn't know that a lot of this money is still sitting there. And now that they're starting to see it, they want to repurpose that money. Just last week, I believe it was last week. Yeah, probably last week. I talked about how Representative Ilhan Omar, she was saying that there's going to be about $50 billion left over from the Pentagon, being that we're going to pull out of Afghanistan. And so she wants to repurpose that money to the American people. And so that's just another way of repurposing money that's already been spent. So we will see. And then we got economists that wonder why Congress has such a tough time providing more direct payments when these were one of the biggest contributing factors in the economic recovery. Many economists say that additional stimulus check would greatly improve the economy, which would provide more jobs, which would provide the hardest hit Americans with a steady income, and all of that will work its way through the economy much faster than some infrastructure and other wasteful spending. Now, they are not calling all infrastructure wasteful spending. They are saying that right now lawmakers are just pretty much throwing money at different problems. And if they're not fighting for the same solution, the same problems, the issue there is everyone's going to have an idea of, all right, well, let's fix this, because if we fix this issue, it's going to provide jobs for these people. And if we provide jobs for these people, they will be able to fix that economy and that area. And that's creating a whole nother issue. So as of right now, people are just trying to get on board. People are just trying to get on board with different ideas. What I can tell you is that over the next week or so, over the next pretty much Memorial Day or Memorial Week, right? Because Congress isn't coming back to Capitol Hill until like the second week of June, towards the middle of June. So what I can tell you is that is enough time, having a week and a half of time off, of going on recess, going back to your home states, to your districts, and speaking with your constituents. That should help many lawmakers come up with different proposals, different ideas, and figure out ways to provide for not only the American people, but make sure that the infrastructure package that is going to be passed will actually fix the problems that we are currently facing. So, as of right now, that is currently what's being discussed. We are getting closer. We are seeing there's some infrastructure agreements happening, but things are moving so slow. Some Democrats say that if we do not have a proposal, we do not have a tentative agreement on the infrastructure package from Republicans by Memorial Day, which is Monday, then they will just pull out of the bipartisan negotiations and pass this on their own. But like I reported yesterday, Democrats do not want to use their budget reconciliation yet. They want to hold off on that and wait until this fall, where they potentially might have to pass additional stimulus checks. They might have to do something for an extension of unemployment benefits, or somewhere in between those lines. So there is discussions. We will see what happens with this unspent money. As I know more, I promise I'll come back, fill you in all this news and updates. Just want to thank you guys for watching. Have a wonderful rest of your Wednesday. Consider subscribing so I can continue to keep you updated on everything that's going on, and I'll see you guys on the next one.